not for the sake of one individual change the meaning of principle and integrity. Hi, my name is Tani, and this is a quick analysis of a key quote from Jane Austen's Pride and Prejudice. I've selected my top 50 key quotes from this beautifully enduring text for Bearlearn and analysed every single one of them. From bearlearn.com, you can get a key quote plus in-depth analysis sent to you daily for over 50 days. It's a great way to revise and stay immersed in Austen's world a day at a time because there is just so much good stuff in there. Don't forget that on bearlearn.com, you can also open a Bear Bank account for free to log your book quotes and notes. So open up your Bear Bank and let's take some notes. You shall not, for the sake of one individual, change the meaning of principle and integrity is actually one of my top 2 quotes from Pride and Prejudice. It appears on page 154 and is said by Elizabeth Bennet. I love this quote because the irony is simply just delightful in Elizabeth's comment. Also because of the core text themes and values it explores as well, of course. And those themes and values are on pride, prejudice, love, marriage, appearances and family. For character-based questions, you can also use this quote to talk about Elizabeth's personal growth and Charlotte. It's pretty harsh, but Elizabeth says this to her sister about her perhaps former best friend Charlotte. In the conversation where this quote takes place, Elizabeth talks about how Charlotte's marriage is a source of frustration for her and also alludes to Mr. Darcy vexing her as well. Her sister, Jane, tries to reason with her, cautioning Elizabeth that such feelings will ruin her happiness, and tries to get Elizabeth to see Charlotte's choice to marry Mr. Collins from a different perspective. Elizabeth outright rejects this, calling Mr. Collins a conceited, pompous, narrow-minded, silly man, and accuses anyone who marries him of not having a proper way of thinking. So she's essentially saying that Charlotte is out of her mind to marry Mr. Collins, and doesn't stop there. Elizabeth asserts that one cannot, for the sake of one individual, being Charlotte, change the meaning of principle and integrity, underscoring how low Charlotte has now sunk in Elizabeth's esteem. So what's the analysis that can be taken from this fiery speech? Many aspects of Elizabeth's character are highlighted in this passage. For one, her contempt for the traditional notions of status and respectability, the very reason Charlotte chooses to marry Mr. Collins, where, during Regency-era England, marrying out of prudence and not for love was not uncommon. Elizabeth's fierce independence, albeit laced with a determined single-mindedness, is also conveyed through her willingness to so openly savage the characters of Mr. Collins and Charlotte, due to what she perceives to be insincerity in marrying without love, or as Elizabeth says, without affection. In particular though, there is a real sense of irony in Elizabeth's frustrated venting to her sister when she talks about changing the meaning of principle and integrity, because she herself has changed the meaning of principle and integrity to suit her own biases against Mr. Darcy. Elizabeth prides herself on being independently minded and rational, though betrays these principles when she chooses to believe Wickham at face value, simply due to her dislike of Mr. Darcy. A glaring inconsistency or red flag in Mr. Wickham's character is when he tells Elizabeth that it is not for me to be driven away by Mr. Darcy. If he wishes to avoid seeing me, he must go, in the context of the ball that Mr. Bingley will hold at Netherfield. Yet when the ball arrives, Mr. Wickham is not present. Mr. Wickham admits to Elizabeth after the Netherfield ball that he decided not to go to the ball because, as time drew near, that I had better not meet Mr. Darcy. Despite this inconsistency in character, or perhaps a hint at his lack of integrity, Elizabeth still esteems Mr. Wickham. When the truth becomes known about Mr. Wickham, it is this precise inconsistency that Elizabeth remembers. The third-person narrator tells us how rueful Elizabeth is at having so easily believed Mr. Wickham because of her own prejudices against Mr. Darcy. The quotes go, "She remembered that he had boasted of having no fear of seeing Mr. Darcy, that Mr. Darcy might leave the country, but that he should stand his ground, yet he had avoided the Netherfield ball the very next week." The positive is that in thinking about and admonishing herself for her having allowed her biases to cloud her rational thought, Elizabeth demonstrates her ability to learn and grow as a character. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you got a lot out of that analysis and have been taking good notes. If you like this video, please give it a like, and I do have a few more videos analysing quotes from Pride and Prejudice. so please watch them to help build up your bank of quotes and notes. While analyses like these are available on bearland.com, if you want the quotes only from Pride and Prejudice, that's absolutely free. Just sign up on the website and you can start getting a quote a day for 50 consecutive days. I do recommend starting the quotes as soon as you start studying the text in class. That way, you're getting daily reminders on small parts of Pride and Prejudice to help you stay immersed in the text. All the best with your studies. I'm Tani, and thank you for watching.